What are you in the 1% of? If I shake my head in a certain way, I can give myself an orgasm. Never met anyone who can do that. Survived flesh-eating bacteria in the bloodstream after sepsis. Most people die within 3 days. I can stop my hiccups on command. I'm naturally ambidextrous. Apparently that's something only 1% of people naturally are. I can use both right and left hands ably for any task. For example, I often switch which hand I write with, based on how I'm sitting. It's worth noting natural ambidexterity is not the same as learned or acquired ambidexterity. For example, left-handed people often have to use things designed for right-handed people, but otherwise are left-handed. I'm of the 0.002% of people with osteopoikilosis. This freaked the shit out of me, because when I was diagnosed the first thing the doctor said was, "Wow, I've never seen this in anything but textbooks before." Basically, I have bones growing inside my bones. It's not anything I should be worried about, at least for a while, so that's nice. I've represented my country in the Paralympic Games. Not me but my dad. He was born with a backwards heart and didn't find out till his heart attack a few years ago, and it actually saved his life. His doctor later told him that after being a doctor for over 30 years he'd never seen someone with a backwards heart, and that apparently 1% of people on the planet have it. I'm diagnosed with visual snow syndrome. Basically seeing through static. It may not be rare as thought, but I'm one of very few people to be formally diagnosed. I have A blood type. Less than 1% of the world's population have it. I have a double gene mutation that makes me highly resistant or even immune to the HIV virus. Far less than 1% of people make their living creating crossword puzzles. I've also written 5 novels, 3 of which were published. Not as interesting or cool as others, but I'm in the 1% of the population that has no immunity to rubella, even though I've been vaccinated for it several times. Apparently some people's bodies don't take to some vaccinations. Fine with everything else like mumps, measles, etc. It's just the rubella. I've also got type 2 Duane syndrome in my right eye. Duane's being a uncommon eye condition anyway. Right eye being least common to have it, and type 2 the least common of its type out of the 3 types. Won the Duane's lottery with that one. Cancer survivor. Think that's 5%. I had it 3 ducking times. I'm albino. So apparently my left eye is 32 mm. The average size is 27 mm. My eye doctor said it was neat. I fell off a 100-foot cliff and landed headfirst on rocks. Broke my neck and back. Smashed up a lot of my body. Had to travel about a mile to find help immediately after the fall. Doctor said I caused more damage by trying to walk for help, but would have bled out if I stayed where I fell. 15 months later, I'm powerlifting and ran a half marathon. Should not be alive, much less be able to walk. How camping on a mountain. Found a spot to lay down and observe the stars. Had to pee. Stepped into woods. Lost my footing. Geronimo. Everyone is born with a space in the base of your skull. I have an enlarged space. The doctor called it an enlarged cisterna manner. Having it isn't what makes me part of the 1%. It's the fact that it hasn't caused me any trouble or neurological issues that puts me there. It was only found when I had an MRI for migraines. Edit totally got the wrong wording. I'm sorry for misleading anyone. That came on the back of flu meds and little sleep. I have stress-induced migraines and hormonal ones too. Nothing to do with the lack of brain function. That just makes me a little dull. I survived childhood cancer. I think just getting it at all is pretty rare. I'm a totally in the 0.2% of something. People who have a rather nasty reaction to the blood thinner, heparin. Lost half my toes because of how lucky I am. I'm one of only 200 deaf pilots in the world, and one of only 4 that are commonly known of in the world with commercial instrument training. I'm also one of the only deaf people who hold both a pilot's license and a commercial driver's license. Guitar Hero. I was a world-ranked player back when it was more popular and won every tournament I ever attended. The Binding of Isaac. As of now, exactly 1% of players have all 637 achievements on Steam. Typing in my PC. I can type up to 170 WPM sometimes, and in the human benchmark site that's 1%. I held a second place world record for the Mushroom Gorge time trial in Miriakadwai for 15 minutes. I have a brown eye and a blue one. I held a senior reactor operator and pilot license at the same time. I've been into helicopter crashes and one plane crash. There is only a small group of people who have survived that many crashes. I'm also not a pilot. Writing. Writing the same exact thing with my left hand, except backwards and to the left, while I write it normally and with my right hand. I don't have nipples, so probably that. I can make my eyes shake voluntarily nystagmus, and I can wiggle my ears. It was a lot more impressive when I was 7. Survival. I fell 25 feet out of a window when I was about 2 years old. I've also been hit by a car that was traveling over 50 miles on 80.4 km/h. I've had 2 near drownings. I was also held hostage at gunpoint for over 3 hours. All if these things happened before my 14th birthday. I had pancreatic cancer last year. Out of 10,000 patients they normally find 100 who have another form of this cancer who kill a little slower. Like in 2 years instead of months. I was one of the 100. Out of those, normally 15 can have surgery. I was one of them. Out of those 15. Some die and some come back to basically normal life. That's about a 0.07% chance in all. I'm still one of them. I should be dead by now. Being deaf. Only 0.22%, roughly 600k people across all age groups in the US are deaf. More than half are over the age of 65. I've been profoundly deaf since birth, so I'm in an even smaller percent than 0.22%. Laughing my butt off. Being 6 feet 1 as a woman. The weather up here is 39 degrees Fahrenheit with a light breeze. I'm sure I'm in the 1% of wedding attendance. I started as a wedding DJ when I was 18. For several years, I was doing 40, 50 weddings a year. I ended up doing DJ, photo, and video at my business in Vegas. For several years, I was a part of at least 250 weddings a year. Sometimes 2, 3 a day. My record was 7 ceremonies in one day. 11. I retired from weddings at 44 years old. So 26 years in total. I estimate I have been worked at well over 2,000 wedding ceremonies. Probably closer to 2,500, 2,600. Interestingly, I've only been a participant in 2 weddings, mine as the groom and my best friend is best man. According to my step counter, walking, not even kidding. I manage a warehouse and walk 10-15 miles a day at work. Apparently this is more than 99.3% of users. Turns out the one thing I'm exceptional at is the one thing almost everyone can do. Yay. Only 2% of pregnant women experience 2 miscarriages in a row. Only 1% of women experience 3 miscarriages in a row. I have had 5 miscarriages in a row and I fully hate any type of statistics now. Statistics used to make me feel safe. Now I just know how easy it is to be on the wrong side of them. Eyesight. I have 20/10 vision. Turns out only about 1% of people have better than normal 20/20 vision. My actual name. My last name is one of the rarest in the country and I'm the only person with my name out of the entire population. Having a famous parent. He's famous in another country, which allows me to live a normal life. Second generation deaf and black dude. Probably less than 0.5. Supporting both black and deaf mommy and daddy is pretty hard. Walking. I have cerebral palsy, and it was not known whether I would talk, walk, or do anything. Now, I'm getting a degree, have a job, and I'm a full-fledged adult. I fall asleep in 5-10 minutes after my head hits the pillow, mostly around the 5-minute mark. I'm your opposite, sometimes 5 hours. Long time ago, when the Wii was the newest console, there was a free downloadable game there, which was Crystal Defenders, a tower defense game inspired by Final Fantasy. Once you finished the campaign, you could compete in the high score for some of the last level. I placed as high as 17 worldwide, and no other Canadian was above me. Still proud of that one. LOL. Birth control. 99% effective, right? I'm living proof of the 1% XD. It's cool though. My parents never acted like they didn't want me. I suffer from a relatively harmless phenomenon called aphantasia. I'm incapable of conjuring images inside my head. I know what object or thing I'm supposed to think about, but all I see is nothing. When I dream, I know what's happening and what I'm supposed to see, but it's just a whole lot of nothingness. I guess you could say I'm blind in my mind. Apparently around 1% of the population suffer from this weird condition. Must be nice having a screen in your head that shows anything you can imagine. Height. I'm 204 centimeters. I have situs inversus. I went to the hospital a few years ago for something else, and they told me I had this rare condition. All my organs are on the opposite side that they normally would be. It doesn't affect me in any way. Just a cool switcheroo. As a Lithuanian, I belong to a nationality that makes up 0.03% of the world population. Tenor voices. I'm a professional opera singer, and have also performed in a rock band, a state champion collegiate a cappella group, have been on international television as a soloist, was paid to sing High Mass at St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican in front of the cardinals, and was just on stage with Sir Mix-a-Lot. That's pretty badass. I gotta be in the top 1% of hairiest bitches in North America, especially if we are looking at Caucasian women only. I must ask you a question. I'm left-handed, have red hair, and blue eyes. I do not know if that makes me 1%, but it has to be pretty close. I can fold a fitted sheet. Number of skydives. I'm in the 1% of thickest Boston accents in America, thanks to growing up in Boston. I can throw a 16-pound shot put over 20 mile or 66 feet 8 inches. Not a ton of real world applications, except when asked what you are in the top 1% of. I'm 6 feet 6 while being 14. Ghost Recon Wildlands top 1% of players with the most kills according to the Ubisoft app. Degrees. I have a BA, MA, JD and 2 PhDs. If I'm not mistaken, less than 1% of the world has that many, and neither should I. I'm debt free. Chefs. I have earned a Michelin star. Vitiligo. People that have wintered over in Antarctica. I can say the alphabet backwards, just as quickly as I can say it forwards. I have a rare type of brain tumor, it's benign. We pretend it doesn't exist. All good. And I don't use my phone on the toilet. Infertile people. The people who can't have children after a year of trying. For whom no treatment works. Have no diagnosis to explain why. And end up the 1% of the 1% and move on to surrogacy gestational carrier. Catching falling objects. It's my useless superpower. Rubik's Cube solving. I'm not particularly fast compared to the fastest folks, but I'm sub 30 seconds every time. Old fingers and neurons don't fire as fast as them little kids. People who need to sneeze when they are in the Sunday want a superpower, lol. I play a video game called Counter-Strike in 99.99th percentile. It's also my most useless skill. Top 1% of sellers on Etsy. I'm probably in the 1% of surviving multiple severe opioid overdoses without brain damage. I survived 6 different opioid, primarily fentanyl analogs overdoses, 2 of which I completely stopped breathing for several minutes, and out of those 2 overdoses, my heart stopped beating during one, and it stopped for a little over a minute. Further, my now wife and I got clean at the same time once we finally hit our lowest point and were about to become homeless. And I got clean by sitting at my parents' house and not going to detox rehab or getting on buprenorphine or methadone. I should be really super duper dead, but instead we got clean. We got married, and I work for myself as a carpenter woodworker as my wife finishes college. So I suppose I'm in the 1% of hardcore opioid addicts getting and staying clean after nearly dying multiple times from overdoses. Yay me. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe,